Welcome back from the commercial break. We continue the discussion on the topic of private sector's investment and economic growth. We count on private sector tonight as we go through this discussion that it should be a source of, a solution to unemployment. It should be a solution to the export deficit because we are not exporting much. And that's why the dollar is increasing. It may even reach at a certain point 5,000 because we are now in the 3,800. That's not fair for us. At certain point, I remember around early 2000, a dollar, you could be having 2,500, 2,000. I can be able to qualify, cross-check with my records. But we had a shilling which was competing with the dollar. But now we cannot compete with the dollar. One of the reasons is that we spend much more of importing. We are not producing much. But the solution in the private sector, and our guest, Mr. Francis Chisilinia, is saying that we've already moved a milestone and maybe we need to do much. That's me, my provocation to him. I say we need to do much. Our dear guest, you were taking us through and looking at how we can have the solution to the controversial transactional businesses which doesn't have a certain kind of control. Some people say no, the government, especially the head of state, when it appears before the television and saying this economic crisis, please minimize expenditure, use Mogo, don't eat bread, tighten your belts, and you go to the market, you're not protected. How can we bridge and emerge out of this? We bridge the gap and we emerge out of this as victors. Those who are in the private sector who are doing business and those who are customers, in a way you talked about demand and supply. Welcome once again.
Viewers, the question of the price, as we said, the best thing always, and what has succeeded everywhere, is to leave the forces of demand and supply to determine the prices. That mechanism has a self-adjusting mechanism that over a short time will stabilize prices. How does that happen? For instance, if today we woke up and the prices of, for instance, soap is quite high, it means that the suppliers are making abnormal profits. If there is no reason why they should be high and they just press them up, they are making abnormal profits. But other investors, other people are seeing that this person is making this abnormal profit. And because the private sector is all about getting for the profit, they will invest in money so that they can also benefit from that high profit. Because free entry, it is free entry and exit. You cannot say you stop somebody from investing in a soap factory. So they will invest and they bring in more soap on the market. So you have now more supply, you have supply going up. So as supply goes up, there's no longer shortage. So the prices will start coming down. And at some stage you'll have the supply and the demand evening out, and therefore you will now have.
So which factors will now lead the soap in like situation which we are in and other commodities to come down when the government is not intervening in any other way?
Yes, now, but that is under a normal situation where everything is normal. But the situation we have in Uganda today is things have become abnormal. Where the people who produce the goods, the people who produce the goods, where they buy the raw materials, they are in a shortage. They are also, because it is in short supply, they are buying at very high prices. Secondly, because of the problems in the fuel industry right now, because of also supply problems, Russia invaded Ukraine, and the countries all over the world, they said, Russia, you should not sell fuel anymore. They put what we call sanctions. Now, when those sanctions was put, it affects the supply, so meaning that you're creating a shortage. So that shortage now, the remaining few suppliers now increase the prices. So that is an abnormal thing. Now, and the trouble, the biggest problem is that when fuel prices increase like they have done this time, you will find that everything is affected. Transport, goods, that the prices of goods and services, everything will go up. That's the situation that we have now. So in a situation like this, what do we suggest, and as Private Sector Foundation, what have we done to ensure and suggested to ensure that the population is, given the hard situation, can also be able to access these particular services and goods? So one thing that we have advised government to do, in case where these supply and demand are interfered with and they are not working very well, like for instance, the suppliers are conniving and are setting the prices, and therefore the other thing cannot affect the prices to come down. We requested the government to do and introduce what we call a competition law.
A competition law.
Now, a competition law will specify how we will compete fairly in the market. It will specify penalties for not doing so. It will also give government and regulatory agencies power to come and inspect your facilities, your companies, to understand why you are charging a particular price. And if you cannot justify reasonably that price,
is that proposal already before Parliament, or it's in the government?
So the proposal is with the government.
The
yes.
Private Sector Foundation, you proposed that?
We've proposed that, and
Yes.
the government must put together a competition law.
Competition law.
Our brothers in Kenya have it, our brothers in Tanzania have it, and many countries around the world have it. That is one way you can do it. The second way you can do it is, there might not be any connivance, there might not be anything that is going wrong like we know today, but it is external factors. The price of getting goods from abroad increased, fuel increased, the dollar has gone up, all those things. What we would expect government to do is now to provide reliefs, things that will lessen,
and incentives?
Yes, things that will lessen the burden on the consumers or the suppliers, so that now the consumers can get these products at a low price. So what are some of those things we have proposed to government to do, even though they were not very much receptive about them? One of the things that government has control over, and we said it's taxes. Because the tax is not in the demand and supply. It is government that puts the tax. VAT will be so much, this will be so much, this will be so much. We have advised that for certain goods which have a challenge on prices now because of those external problems, the government could look at the tax side. Can't it forego some of the taxes in this crisis, so that people can help?
Our dear guests, as we continue that discussion, remember we are saying that private sector should be a solution to unemployment, and we would like to look at the responsibility of those who are interested to participate in the private sector, the responsibility, and also the information they may be lacking, to boost the private sector that will end up becoming a solution for unemployment and export, and as a boost to export trade. We would like to look at what the government has either proposed or is already doing to support the local investors in a way that will be able to create jobs. Because one of the solutions of job creation, I know the government has stated already this, is the private sector. But yet, we seem to be looking at the effort invested to support the local investors, especially the local investors, the foreign investors who've heard about their, 10 years tax holidays and so forth. But our local investors in this country seem not to be supported beyond the indirect incentives. And I would like to know whether your agitation or your call for that is quite formidable. Kindly share with us in that direction.
Yes. Now, viewers who are listening to us tonight, very clearly for us to grow the private sector, to get employment and jobs and export, we really must have interventions, let me not call it incentives. We must have a package of incentives, of interventions that help the private sector to do its job. We've largely agreed that the private sector is not intentionally manipulating the market. It is the way the market the market operates is what creates the kind of challenges we have today. For instance, it affects how the markets that you can sell in. It affects the number of people you can employ. It affects the taxes that you can pay. So what have we suggested to government to do in this situation? One, I've talked about what we call the business environment. It is that situation through which businesses can wake up in the morning, go and trade profitably. There are several things that are within the business environment that we need to be conducive for the private sector to do, to trade profitably, grow, export, create employment, and all of those things. First of all, and this one government is doing very well, the issues of economic policies. We want a stable macroeconomic policy. This one is very good. Government is doing very well.
No, I have a question on that. I have a question on that. I'm not appreciating that the government is doing very well in that, the macroeconomic policies. Currently, we have, for instance, if I go to the banking, the fiscal policy, especially the banking sector. While Uganda is an growing economy, but from time to time up to today, we don't have an agricultural bank, whether it is government-based bank, that can give affordable loans to those who are participating in agriculture, either to buy, to support the mechanized agriculture, to support the agriculture insurance. It has kept on postponing it. And also, again, what is affecting us. We've not seen the government coming up with a deliberate policy to have, for instance, establishment of silos, which should be a government initiative to support so. And number three, another gap, to identify gaps, and maybe you will enlighten to the viewers whether maybe all that is covered. We've had the challenge of fuel, like where we are talking about fuel, but there are some governments which are doing better all over elsewhere, that in a midst when there is a crisis of whether you're talking about Ukraine, but they have fuel reserves that can carry them even 2 years. Would you maybe give us comfort whether that is done very well?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for raising those particular issues. And they are issues that give us headache too, as private sector. But we raise them with government. What needs to be done in terms of interventions to help the private sector to really trade it and trade better? You've raised them very well. The issues of cost of money, cost and access to money. Today, Uganda has, in the region, the highest interest rates, 18, 19, 20%. How on earth is anybody ever going to trade, to invest at 18% and grow so that he can create a job? It's really very difficult.
Very difficult, yes.
So government must work very hard as stabilize within the business environment to ensure that we have access to long-term and affordable finance. That is something that has.
Have you petitioned for that? Because you have a voice.
We have, and we have engaged a long time with this. I think the situation could have been worse if it was not for our voices. But we emphasized to government to ensure that we used to have what we called in the years ago Uganda Development Bank. And at some stage it had lapsed, it had been put in limbo. But we vehemently and pushed and argued with the government to re-establish and recapitalize Uganda Development Bank. As I speak today, Uganda Development Bank has been revived, recapitalized, but we need more money in there. What we have is
and
small.
capitalized at which pace? Because it is not.
this,
It is usually no here in Kampala. If you go to Kapchogwa, you go to maybe Hoima, you ask them about Uganda Capital Development Bank. We find our active youth, active citizens. They want to work and they say there is some money. But to access that money, as you said, it is still a challenge.
Yes.
So whether you talk about revival or no revival, but it is still, really the revival is not addressing the question at hand.
Yes, the situation could have been worse.
Okay.
You know, it has not been able to go and reach everybody yet, but at least there is something. Our view had been that government puts $1 billion and the government committed itself
The Capital Development Bank.
in Uganda Development Bank.
Yes.
COVID helped us and the government moved and put money there, but it's not even a quarter of $1 billion shillings. So there is work to do, but the direction is correct. And I would like to emphasize to government to continue on that path, put more money. But also the management of Uganda Development Bank, the voices of the people, the feedback that is given, let it be utilized to provide better services to the people. If you are not, the outreach is not, is very poor across the country, do something about it. And when you have done something about it, publicize it so that people know. That is one. The second thing on access to finance and cost, which we argued before, and it was established
to enable us employment and export trade. Yes.
To create what they call the finance for agriculture, because agriculture is unique. First of all, its cash flows are pegged on seasons. You plant today, you have to wait a number of months before you can harvest and then sell. That is a unique situation. The same even in animals. You buy a bull today or whatever, or a heifer, before it can give you money, it takes time. So there was no appropriate money in Uganda to support agriculture. So we argued and proposed that government establishes a bank or a fund that can help it. And we're happy to say that government established what they call the Agricultural Credit Facility. Now, that Agricultural Credit Facility extends money to people involved in the agricultural sector at low interest rates, as low as 10%. But also, it is able to match the repayment to the cash flows of the agriculture business. So it is not covering everybody yet, but the direction is there. So that must happen as far as creating a better business ever. So what do you get out of that? It means that now if you have set up an agriculture project or business, you have borrowed at long term, at affordable rates like the 10% that we are talking about, it means you are better able to grow your business. And when you grow your business, you can employ people and you can export. Let me give you something right now, what we see in the last about 7 years. We've seen a lot of transformation in the agriculture sector. We have seen value addition. We have seen innovation. We have seen value addition coming up. That is why.
But when you compare it, some percentage, it is still lacking.
Yes, it's still low. But today, that is why you see a number of products that come from agricultural products, manufactured products that come from agricultural products on the shelves and in the export markets. Look at milk, for instance. Many years ago, the milk we could only do so little, process little and sell locally here. But as we speak, we even export milk in powder form and other forms. That is because of the reforms that have happened within the financing, within the innovations and the investments that the private sector has made. Today, our milk competes very well in the region, whether Kenya, whether Tanzania.
But Kenya is far better than us.
No, it's not true. Actually, at some stage, because our milk was out competing the milk in Kenya, they had to stop us from selling in Kenya. So we are doing very well there. Look at things like sugar. sugar from sugar cane. Sugar, we are doing very well too. Actually, if you look at the investments that we have made, we produce much more sugar than we're able to consume as a country.
Wait a bit. Our farmers from the Busoga region are crying day and night. Their sugar cane is not having their access to the price, especially to connect them to the productivity chain, which could lead, to the final product of sugar. And as a result, people are losing a lot of money.
This is a very unfortunate situation that actually cropped up, and we requested and proposed to government to put in place a good regulatory mechanism that can be able to give the farmers a chance to trade, sell their sugar cane to the factories, and they make money.
Now, our dear guest, there is something you've not addressed for us as a private sector foundation, and I know you've maybe either tried, you've not yet succeeded. Having private sector and basically for the encouragement, which is there is a lack of intervention, I would like to phrase it this way, or a reform within the private sector to revive cooperatives. And even these trade cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives, commercial cooperatives, leaving that aside, also the commitment either to agitate for it, because I said you are the voice of the voice for many, where the government can support the upcoming young investors. That is still lacking. We've talked about the Capital Development Bank, the Uganda Development Bank. We have engineers who complete their studies, let's say, from Chambogo University, Makerere University, and so forth. If they are also given capital and they are supported by that Uganda Development Bank, they could now begin to be operating in a way finally we phase out these Chinese. I'm not saying we chase the Chinese away, but we phase our reliance on the foreign investors, on what Uganda can do. Kindly look through that. You will straight away take us through that existing gap, how it can be addressed in the next session. Please stay tuned on Smart 24 TV as we go for a short break. We'll continue with that discussion.